Commander Trell stood frozen in front of the main screen of the survey ship Pathfinder *. His three-fingered hand trembled slightly as he read the data scrolling before him. The small vessel had been mapping this unremarkable solar system for routine cataloging when their sensors detected something that couldn't possibly exist. "Run the scan again," Trell ordered, his voice unusually tight. Science Officer Reed nodded, her four eyes blinking in sequence as she tapped the controls. "This is the fourth scan, Commander. The results are consistent." The bridge fell silent as the crew stared at the blue-green planet rotating slowly on the view screen. It looked peaceful, even beautiful from this distance. The scans told a different story. "The atmosphere contains 21% free oxygen," Reed said, highlighting the data. "Surface gravity at 9.8 meters per second squared. Temperature variations from -50 to +50 degrees on their measurement scale. Background radiation levels that would require shielding for any of our kind. And the pressure nearly 15 pounds per square inch at sea level." Lieutenant Brooks, the navigation officer, shook his head in disbelief. "That can't be right. Nothing could live in those conditions." "A Class 14 Deathworld," Trell said quietly. "The highest classification ever recorded. The previous record had been a Class 9, a hellish gas giant moon where simple bacteria had been found living in clouds of acid. Nothing complex had ever been discovered above Class 7. Reed tapped more controls, bringing up new data. "Commander, that's not all. We're detecting technology signatures. Radio waves, artificial satellites, energy production, and atmospheric pollutants consistent with industrial development." "Impossible," Trell whispered, leaning closer to the screen. "Nothing could evolve on that rock, let alone develop technology." "The data doesn't lie," Reed insisted. "Whatever lives down there has adapted to conditions that would kill any known spacefaring species in minutes." Trell paced the small bridge, his mind racing. This discovery would change everything about how the Galactic Survey Corps understood life in the universe. His orders were clear for new worlds: observe, catalog, report. But this was unprecedented. "How advanced are they?" he asked finally. Reed studied her readings. "Pre-FTL, definitely. They appear to have nuclear technology, primitive space exploration limited to their own solar system, and global communication networks. I'd place them at development stage 3, possibly early stage 4. Intelligent enough to be aware of the possibility of life beyond their world. Then," Trell noted, "yes, but their technology isn't advanced enough to detect us in orbit if we maintain standard cloaking procedures." Trell made his decision. "Move us into stable observation orbit. Maximum stealth protocols. I want visual feeds from our long-range cameras and begin intercepting their communication signals. We need to learn everything we can before reporting back to command." The crew moved quickly to their tasks, energized by the discovery. As the Pathfinder * slipped into orbit around the third planet of this yellow star, Trell couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something important. Hours later, Reed called him to the science lab. Her normally composed features showed clear signs of agitation. "Commander, I've been analyzing their biology from orbit," she began. "These beings, they're carbon-based, which makes sense, but their cellular structure is unlike anything we've seen. They can metabolize the corrosive oxygen in their atmosphere. Their bodies can withstand the crushing gravity. They've evolved immune systems that fight off millions of pathogenic microorganisms that fill their air, water, and soil." "Are they a threat?" Trell asked quietly. Reed displayed images captured from orbit, structures of glass and steel reaching toward the sky, vehicles moving at dangerous speeds across artificial roads, flying machines cutting through their thick atmosphere. "I don't know," she admitted, "but anything that evolved on a world like this would have to be incredibly resilient, adaptable, and aggressive to survive. Their entire existence is a constant battle against conditions that would kill most species in the galaxy." Trell stared at the images of the blue world turning below them. "Send the preliminary report to command. Mark it urgent. We found something extraordinary here, a civilization that thrives in hell. As he watched the beautiful but deadly planet spin beneath them, Trell couldn't know that this discovery would soon shake the foundations of galactic society, or that the planet's name would soon become famous throughout known space. Earth. The central chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with tense energy. Representatives from 37 spacefaring species sat in rising tiers around the circular floor, their attention fixed on Admiral Pike as he stood before the holographic display. The survey ship Pathfinder has confirmed its findings. Pike began, his tall frame rigid with military bearing. We are looking at a Class 14 Deathworld with an advanced civilization. The chamber erupted with murmurs and exclamations. A Class 14 designation was theoretical until now, a mathematical model of a planet so hostile that complex life shouldn't be possible. "Silence, please," called Counselor Vex, the ancient Durian who served as head of session. His skin glowed a soft blue, indicating concern. "Admiral Pike, continue your briefing." Pike nodded and expanded the hologram to show the blue-green planet. This species, if our scans are correct, would be unlike anything we've encountered before. They breathe oxygen, a highly corrosive gas that would destroy the lung tissue of most council races. They drink water containing hydrogen, an explosive element. Their world experiences extreme weather patterns, tectonic instability, and radiation levels from their star that would require our ships to maintain full shielding. Dr. Morrow, the Council's chief xenobiologist, joined Pike on the floor. Her six-fingered hands manipulated the controls to zoom in on blurry images of the planet's dominant species. "These beings appear to be bipedal mammals," she explained. "Their cellular structure would need to withstand radiation levels that would kill any of us in minutes. Their muscles function under crushing gravity. Their temperature regulation systems allow them to survive in conditions ranging from near freezing to extreme heat." "Are they intelligent?" asked the representative from Novan Prime. "Highly," Pike replied. "They've developed global communication networks, rudimentary space travel within their system, and appear to have mastered nuclear energy. Their cities cover large portions of their continents." Councillor Davis, representing the unified colonies, leaned forward. His reptilian features remained calm, but his tail twitched with agitation. "The question we must address is clear. Are they a threat?" Pike exchanged glances with Dr. Morrow before answering. "Unknown, but anything that evolved in such conditions would be formidable by definition. Their history, as we've been able to decipher from their broadcasts, shows constant warfare," Dr. Morrow added. "They've developed weapons specifically designed to kill their own kind. They appear to be territorial, aggressive, and remarkably adaptive. Yet they also create art, music, and literature," interjected Councillor Lan, the cultural affairs representative. "Our linguists have translated enough to see beauty in their communications." Pike nodded. "That's true. They are complex, but we must prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." The debate continued for hours. Some council members argued for immediate isolation of the system, marking it forbidden and avoiding all contact. Others pushed for careful study from a distance. A small faction even suggested immediate first contact, arguing that any species surviving such conditions might have valuable knowledge or abilities. Finally, Admiral Pike presented his recommendation. "We should establish a cloaked observation post in orbit. A small team of experts can monitor the planet more closely, learn their languages and customs, and assess their potential threat level or value as allies." Councillor Vex's skin shifted to green, signaling decision time. All in favor of Admiral Pike's recommendation. The vote was nearly unanimous. "It's settled then," Vex announced. "We will send an observation team. Admiral Pike will lead the mission personally, along with Dr. Morrow and a team of specialists." As the council dispersed, Pike found himself staring at the hologram of the blue planet. Something about this world nagged at his memory, like a story heard in childhood, but long forgotten. "Fascinating, isn't it?" Dr. Morrow said, joining him. A species that considers corrosive oxygen normal. That drinks water containing explosive hydrogen. That evolved on a radiation-bathed rock with crushing gravity. What kind of beings would such a world create? Pike wondered aloud. Survivors, Morrow replied simply. The ultimate survivors. And that makes them either the most valuable allies or the most dangerous enemies we could ever encounter. Pike nodded slowly, his gaze still fixed on the spinning planet. Prepare your team, Doctor. We leave in 3 cycles. As they walked away, neither noticed Counselor Davis remaining behind, studying the planet with unusual intensity, a troubled expression on his face. Lieutenant Gray stood at the viewing port of the cloaked observation station, watching the blue-green planet turn slowly below. After 3 weeks in orbit, the shock of what they were seeing had not worn off. Another storm system forming over the Western Ocean, he noted, marking it on his datapad. The 3rd this week. Dr. Wilson joined him at the port, her eyes wide with fascination. They call them hurricanes. Wind speeds over 150 miles per hour, enough to tear apart structures and flood entire regions. And they just live with this? Gray asked. They not only live with it, they've adapted to it. They build warning systems, evacuation plans, and then rebuild whatever gets destroyed. Wilson shook her head in amazement. It's as if their entire existence is based on overcoming their environment rather than adapting to it. The observation team had set up their station in high orbit, hidden from Earth's primitive detection systems. Their mission was simple: observe and report. But nothing about this planet was simple. Security Chief Thompson entered the observation deck, his normally stern face showing rare excitement. You need to see this, he said, activating the main view screen. We intercepted a broadcast of something they call a sports competition. The screen showed a large arena filled with thousands of humans. On a grassy field below, armored figures crashed into each other with violent force. The game is called football, Thompson explained. Watch what happens when they collide. The humans on screen smashed together at running speed. Bones would have shattered in any council species, but these beings stood up, shook off impacts that would hospitalize most sentient life forms, and continued to play. Their entertainment is literally watching each other withstand physical trauma that would kill us, Wilson whispered. Gray turned away from the screen. What have you learned about their medical practices? Wilson's face showed a mixture of horror and admiration. They're barbaric by our standards, but effective for their biology. They cut themselves open and sew themselves shut to repair internal damage. They deliberately poison parts of their bodies to eliminate diseases. They replace failing organs with artificial ones, or even organs from their dead. And their warfare. Thompson couldn't hide his shock as he changed the view screen to show historical footage. They've weaponized their planet's most destructive forces: atomic energy, chemistry, even their own biological pathogens. Admiral Pike entered the observation deck, listening silently. After a moment, he asked, "Are they aggressive toward outside threats?" "That's the most concerning part," Gray replied, queuing up different broadcasts. Their entertainment is filled with stories about fighting alien invasions. Their literature, their movies, their games, many focus on scenarios where they face and defeat beings from other worlds. Pike watched the screen as it displayed clips from various Earth media. Humans battling alien invaders, saving their planet from destruction, venturing into space to confront threats. They're preparing for us without even knowing we exist, Thompson said quietly. No, Dr. Wilson countered. I don't think that's it. These are stories, fiction. I believe it's how they process the unknown. They imagine the worst so they can prepare mentally for it. Gray nodded. We've also seen countless stories where they make peace with alien visitors. Their reactions seem to depend on how the outsiders approach them. Pike considered this information. What about their planet itself? We knew it was hostile, but what have you learned by direct observation? Wilson brought up environmental data. It's even more extreme than our initial scans showed. Their oceans contain predators that would be classified as monsters on any council world. Their land masses host venomous creatures whose toxins could kill in seconds. They have microorganisms that constantly evolve to overcome their medical defenses. Yet they've tamed much of it, Thompson added, showing images of cities, farms, and transportation networks. They build structures that scrape their skies, traverse their deadly oceans in vehicles made of metal, and willingly expose themselves to their sun's radiation for recreation. Pike was silent for a long moment. In all my years of first contact preparation, I've never seen anything like this. These humans have evolved in conditions that would break any species we know, and instead of being broken by it, they've thrived. As they continued to watch the planet below, a transmission came through from the Council. Gray read it and looked up with surprise. "Sir, the Council wants us to prepare for possible direct contact. They found something in the archives about this planet. Something that changes everything." "What could possibly change our assessment of a Class 14 Deathworld?" Pike asked. "I don't know, sir," Gray replied. "The message just says it relates to ancient human colonies and something called Earth." Pike's eyes widened as a memory stirred. An old legend about the lost homeworld of humanity, a place so harsh it was abandoned millennia ago. "Continue monitoring," he ordered. "I need to contact the Council immediately." Commander Trell rubbed his tired eyes as he entered the science lab aboard the Pathfinder *. The observation mission had gathered incredible amounts of data, and his crew had been working double shifts to process it all. He found Science Officer Reed hunched over a terminal, her 4 eyes fixed intently on the screen. "You wanted to see me?" Trell asked. Reed jumped slightly, clearly startled. "Commander," she said, her voice trembling, "I've made a discovery. You need to see this immediately." Something in her tone made Trell's skin prickle with unease. Reed was normally unflappable, the most composed member of his crew. To see her agitated was unsettling. "What have you found?" he asked, moving to stand beside her. "The planet's designation in ancient records," Reed said, bringing up an old star chart. "It's not unknown as we thought. It's—" She paused, as if hardly believing her own words. "It's Earth." Trell felt his heart skip a beat. Earth? The Earth? The lost homeworld? "Yes," Reed confirmed, bringing up more records. "The birthplace of humanity. The species that helped found the Galactic Council 10,000 years ago, before disappearing from their home system." Trell staggered back, grabbing the edge of a table to steady himself. "That's impossible," he protested. "Humans are like us. They breathe standard atmospheres, require moderate gravity, normal radiation levels. They serve on council ships. I have human friends." "Those aren't original humans," Reed said, displaying comparative genetic records. "Look at the DNA structures. Modern council humans and these Earth humans share a base template, but there are significant differences." Trell studied the complex patterns on the screen. Though he was no geneticist, even he could see the variations between the samples. "What does this mean?" he asked. "They adapted," Reed explained. "Or rather, they were adapted. When humans first spread to the stars, they modified themselves for easier space travel and colonization. They changed their biology to be more compatible with standard Class 3 and 4 worlds where most galactic life evolves. Over generations, they became more like other species." Reed pulled up ancient medical records from the early days of human spaceflight. "These Earth humans we're observing are the original template, the unmodified version that evolved naturally on a Class 14 Deathworld." "But the history records say Earth was lost," Trell argued. "There was supposed to have been some cataclysm, some disaster that made the planet uninhabitable." Reed nodded. "That's what I thought too. But I cross-referenced the coordinates with the oldest archives. There's no record of a cataclysm, just a note that early colonists considered their homeworld unsuitable for standard galactic habitation." She laughed without humor. "That's quite an understatement for a Class 14 Deathworld." Trell paced the small lab, his mind racing. So what you're saying is that humans evolved on a planet that should be impossible to live on, then modified themselves to be weaker when they went to the stars. Essentially, yes. Reed confirmed. By our standards, these Earth humans are like super beings. They've evolved immune systems that attack and destroy anything foreign. Their bones constantly rebuild themselves under gravity that should crush them. They can survive radiation doses that would kill any modified human or other council species. And there are billions of them down there, unaware that their distant cousins populate the galaxy. Trell asked. 8 billion, according to our scans, Reed said, living on a world that the rest of the galaxy would consider hell. The intercom chimed, interrupting them. Commander, Lieutenant Brooks called from the bridge. We're receiving a priority transmission from Admiral Pike on the observation station. Put it through to the lab, Trell ordered. Admiral Pike's face appeared on the screen, looking as stunned as Trell felt. Commander, we've just received information from the Council archives. The planet we're observing is Earth, Trell finished. We've made the same discovery, Admiral. Pike nodded gravely. Then you understand the implications. These aren't aliens. They're human. The original humans, unmodified by genetic engineering. And they've survived for thousands of years on a world that should have killed them. What do we do now? Trell asked. The Council is debating that very question, Pike replied. But I'll tell you this. Everything we thought we knew about humans, about their place in the galaxy, has just changed. As the transmission ended, Trell turned back to Reed. Keep this information restricted to senior staff for now. We need to prepare for whatever the Council decides. Reed nodded, her eyes still fixed on the image of Earth rotating serenely below them. A beautiful blue death trap that had somehow produced one of the galaxy's dominant species. They don't even know what they are, she whispered, what they're capable of. The Grand Council chamber had never been so chaotic. Representatives from across the galaxy shouted questions and demands, their voices creating a cacophony that echoed off the chamber's high ceiling. Councillor Vex slammed his gavel repeatedly, the sound barely audible above the din. Order, he finally bellowed, his voice amplified by the chamber's acoustics. We will have order. The room gradually quieted, though tension remained thick in the air. At the center of the chamber, Admiral Pike stood next to Dr. Morrow and Councillor Davis, all three looking uncomfortable under the scrutiny of hundreds of representatives. The information has been verified, Pike began once silence fell. The planet we have designated as a Class 14 Deathworld is, in fact, Earth, the original home of humanity. Fresh murmurs swept through the chamber, but Vex's stern glare kept them from erupting again. This discovery contradicts much of what we thought we knew about human history, Pike continued. We've had it backward all these years. We thought Earth was lost to some cataclysm. In reality, the early human colonists never spoke about their homeworld because, by our standards, it was hell. Dr. Morrow stepped forward, activating a holographic display that showed comparative biological data. What we're seeing challenges our understanding of evolution itself, she explained. These Earth humans evolved on a world that would kill most of us within minutes. Their biology is adapted to conditions we consider lethal. A hologram showed a human cell, then zoomed in to show its internal structure. Their cellular repair mechanisms work at speeds we've never observed in any species. Their immune systems attack foreign bodies with remarkable efficiency. Their bones are constantly breaking down and rebuilding under their planet's crushing gravity. Are they even the same species as Council humans? Asked the representative from Proxima, her translucent tentacles wavering with agitation. Yes, Dr. Morrow confirmed. Genetically, they match the baseline human template in our oldest records. The difference is that when humans first achieved space travel and encountered other species, they modified themselves to be more compatible with standard galactic environments. A new image appeared, an ancient medical document showing early genetic modifications. The first human colonists altered their biology to better survive in space and on other worlds. Over generations, these changes became permanent. Counselor Davis, himself a modified human from the colony world horizon, stood silent during this explanation, his face pale. Finally, he spoke, his voice barely more than a whisper. "Are you saying my ancestors were super beings?" "By our standards, yes," Morrow answered, her voice gentle but firm. "We modified humans to be more compatible with easier environments and other species. In doing so, we may have reduced what made them special." "This explains much about human history," Admiral Pike added. "The speed with which they adapted to new worlds, their success in early conflicts with hostile species, their remarkable resilience." An elder representative from Novan Prime raised his scaled hand. "I remember the early days of the Council. Humans were fewer then, but their impact was outsized. They pushed boundaries, took risks no sensible species would consider. Now we understand why. They evolved on a world where every day was a fight for survival." "What about their technology?" asked another representative. "If they're so advanced biologically, why haven't they achieved space travel beyond their system?" "Their technological development appears to have taken a different path than most species," Pike explained. "Rather than adapting their environment to themselves, as most council races did, they adapted themselves to their environment. They mastered their deadly world instead of escaping it." "And now," Counselor Vex asked, "what do we do with this knowledge?" Pike looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of many representatives. "That's what we must decide. These are not aliens. They are the forebears of one of the founding species of our council. But they don't know we exist. They don't know their own history." Dr. Morrow added, "They're also facing challenges. Our scans show their planet is warming due to their industrial activity. They're experiencing resource depletion, pollution, species extinction, problems we solved centuries ago." Counselor Davis finally found his voice properly. "They are our family," he said firmly. "My family. We abandoned them, or at least forgot them. We owe them the truth." Vex nodded slowly. "We will vote on making contact. But first, I want to hear more about these original humans, about what they've achieved on their Deathworld." He turned to Pike. "Tell us, Admiral, what kind of culture emerges from hell?" Pike smiled slightly. "One that still looks at the stars and dreams, Counselor, despite everything." The emergency session of the Galactic Council had stretched into its third day. Representatives appeared exhausted, but none had left the chamber. The discovery of Earth as the original human homeworld, a Class 14 Deathworld, was too important to rush decisions. Security Chief Thompson stood at the central podium, presenting his assessment with military precision. "We cannot risk contact," he argued, displaying images of Earth's military installations. "These original humans have evolved in battle conditions we can't comprehend. Their entire existence is a struggle against forces that would destroy any of us." He switched to footage of human combat training. They train by choice to endure pain, exhaustion, and hardship. Their recreational activities often involve voluntary risk of injury or death. They deliberately expose themselves to extreme temperatures, heights, and physical challenges. Thompson's eyes swept the chamber. "If they perceived us as a threat, and their fiction suggests they might, we would face a species evolved to fight in conditions that would incapacitate our troops instantly." Several council members nodded in agreement, but Science Officer Reed stepped forward to present the opposing view. "I respectfully disagree with Chief Thompson," she said. "Yes, these humans are physically formidable by our standards. Yes, their world has forged them into resilient beings. But they're still human. The genetic record confirms it. They're our ancestors, and they deserve to know they're not alone." Reed displayed different images: humans helping each other after natural disasters, medical workers treating the sick, people of different backgrounds working together. They struggle against their harsh world, but they also create art, music, and show compassion to each other, and even to other species on their planet. Despite their brutal environment, they've retained humanity. The chamber was silent, weighing these contrasting views. Commander Trell rose from his seat among the advisors. "If I may, counselors," he began. "Both Security Chief Thompson and Science Officer Reed make valid points. The humans of Earth are potentially dangerous, but also potentially valuable allies. I've studied them for months now, and what impresses me most is their adaptability." Trell activated his own data, showing Earth's history. They've survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and natural disasters that would have ended most civilizations. They don't just endure, they learn, they change, they improve. Lieutenant Gray, who had been monitoring Earth's communications, added unexpected information. "There's more to consider," he said. "Their world is changing, warming due to their industrial emissions. They're facing environmental challenges that even they might not survive without the kind of technologies we possess." "Are you suggesting we contact them out of charity?" asked a representative from the mercantile worlds, her tone skeptical. "I'm suggesting we contact them because they might need us," Gray replied. "And because, one day, we might need them." Admiral Pike had been silent throughout most of the debate. Now he stood, and the chamber grew quiet. "I've served the Council for 60 years, he said. "I've overseen first contact with 17 species. None have been like this situation." He paused, weighing his words carefully. "These humans don't know their place in the galaxy. They don't know they have cousins among the stars. They believe they're alone." He looked around the chamber. "I believe contact is inevitable. The question is not if, but when and how. Do we approach them as equals, offering friendship and knowledge? Or do we continue to watch from the shadows, studying them like specimens?" Counselor Davis, the modified human, rose from his seat. "They are my people," he said simply. "Our people. We modified ourselves to fit into the galactic community. In doing so, we may have lost something essential about what makes us human. Perhaps we have something to learn from Earth, just as they have something to learn from us." Counselor Vex called for the vote. "The options before us are clear. Maintain observation only, or initiate controlled first contact." The voting took less than 5 minutes. The result was closer than any had predicted. 52% in favor of contact, 48% against. "It is decided," Vex announced. "We will initiate first contact with Earth." He turned to Admiral Pike. "Assemble your team, Admiral. The approach must be careful, controlled, and peaceful. These humans have survived a world that would kill any of us. We must respect that strength." As the chamber emptied, Pike gathered his key officers. "We make contact in 1 week," he said. "Reed, prepare the linguistic and cultural packages. Thompson, security protocols. Gray, identify an isolated location for landing." Thompson looked troubled. "Sir, what if they react badly? What if they see us as invaders?" Pike considered this. "Then we'll discover exactly what humans from a Deathworld are capable of. And may the stars help us all." The landing shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, its hull plates glowing red from friction. Inside, Commander Trell checked his environmental suit one final time. Despite filtration systems, the shuttle sensors reported oxygen levels that would be toxic to his species. The gravity already pressed uncomfortably against his chest. "Final approach," announced Lieutenant Gray from the pilot's seat. "Landing in 2 minutes." They had chosen a remote meadow surrounded by forest in a region humans called Montana. Far from major population centers but accessible by road, it offered privacy for this historic meeting. "Vital signs check," Dr. Morrow called out. "Everyone good." The landing team, 6 members representing different council species, all confirmed their suits were functioning. Only Counselor Davis, the modified human, seemed comfortable, though even he needed supplemental support in Earth's harsh conditions. "Remember," Admiral Pike cautioned as the shuttle touched down, "these humans have never encountered alien life. They have no context for this meeting. Our translator implants should handle the language, but proceed with extreme caution. The shuttle doors opened, allowing Earth's atmosphere to wash against their protective suits. The team stepped onto the planet's surface, immediately feeling the crushing gravity. What would be a normal stride on a council world became a deliberate, heavy step here. "How do they move so easily in this?" whispered Reed, watching her instrumentation. "The radiation levels alone should make this place uninhabitable." They arranged themselves in a non-threatening semicircle before the shuttle. Pike had insisted they bring no visible weapons, though Thompson had hidden defensive measures in their suits. They didn't wait long. 3 vehicles approached along a dirt road, kicking up dust. They stopped 100 meters away, and 5 humans emerged. They approached cautiously, but without visible fear. Trell studied them with fascination. They moved with surprising grace under their planet's punishing gravity. Their exposed skin, a reckless vulnerability on any other world, showed they truly were adapted to this environment. They breathed toxic oxygen without equipment, their bodies somehow using the corrosive gas to fuel their cells rather than destroy them. Admiral Pike stepped forward. "We come in peace," he announced, the translator converting his words to the local language. "We represent the Galactic Council, a federation of worlds that includes human colonies established thousands of years ago." The humans stopped, clearly shocked. One stepped forward, an older male with graying hair and weathered skin that spoke of years exposed to Earth's harsh radiation. "I'm Captain Jones of the United Earth Response Team," he said. His voice was steady despite the unprecedented situation. "You're saying humans exist on other worlds?" "Yes," Pike confirmed. "Billions of humans live throughout Council space. They, or rather, your ancestors, left Earth before your recorded history began." Jones looked stunned. "That's impossible. We would have records, myths, something." Science Officer Reed activated a holographic display showing human colony worlds. "The first colonists left Earth approximately 12,000 of your years ago. They used technology that was subsequently lost during a period of interstellar conflict." The humans stared at the holographic images with amazement. Jones found his voice again. "And these humans on other worlds, they look like us." Counselor Davis removed his helmet, revealing his mostly human features, similar but with subtle differences: slightly larger eyes, paler skin, a more delicate frame. "We are like you," Davis said, breathing through a small filter, "but modified. Your ancestors adapted themselves genetically to survive in space and on other worlds." "You're saying humans left Earth before recorded history?" Jones asked, still processing. "And in adapting to space and other worlds, they became different from what we are?" "Yes," Trell said, stepping forward. "What you must understand is how remarkable you are. The galaxy sees worlds like Earth as uninhabitable nightmares, yet you call this home." Jones looked around at the forests, mountains, and sky, clearly puzzled. "This is just Earth." "Exactly," Reed said, her voice filled with wonder. "What's deadly to the galaxy is normal to you. You've survived on a Class 14 Deathworld without even realizing what that means." As night fell and Earth's powerful moon rose, illuminating the meeting site, Trell observed the humans more closely. They stood tall and confident despite meeting beings from another world. They asked intelligent questions. They showed appropriate caution, but no panic. These weren't just survivors, Trell realized. They were thrivers. Beings who had taken the worst the universe could throw at them and built civilizations, art, music, and dreams of the stars. "We have much to share with you," Pike told Jones as their initial meeting concluded. "Knowledge, technology, history, your history." Jones nodded, looking up at the stars now visible in Earth's night sky. "And we have things to share with you too, I think." "Yes," Pike agreed, following his gaze upward. "I believe you do." Later, as the team prepared to return to the shuttle for the night, Trell stood alone for a moment, feeling Earth's punishing gravity, its radiation washing against his suit, its oxygen-rich atmosphere swirling around him. He finally understood the truth that the Council was only beginning to grasp. Humans hadn't conquered their deadly world. They had been forged by it, and the galaxy would never be the same.